I call the Honourable Member Raymond Ho.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Whenever I have to take a call after the Minister for Building and Construction, the Honourable Maurice Williamson, I felt professionally, politically and morally obliged to raise some important points of clarification. The first point of clarification is that the purpose of this bill the Minister has just introduced is to validate some actions taken by the board unlawfully. The board, namely the Plumbers, Gasfitters and Drain Layers Board that the Minister appointed, the action concerned referred to the monies collected by the Minister's board unlawfully. So we're dealing with ultra-virus issue. The second point of clarification is that the Minister's bill will apply retrospectively. The bill in its current form will apply retrospectively to address his board's ultra-virus acts. The third point of clarification is a bit historical. The Minister lectured the chair of the Regulations Review Committee quite nicely in relation to the committee's unanimous disallowance motion. However, his lecturing in May 2011 was rather misleading. In his speech on 12th of May 2011, the Minister said, and I quote, "I say to the chair of the Regulations Review Committee that if a small group of people from whatever industry, from whatever sector, come to a select committee and say to that committee they are unhappy and think something is wrong, then that committee has an obligation to go out and ask whether there is any industry association or any large body out there that represents that industry, and to get them to find out their view and go on and so on and so forth," a close quote. Of course, the committee has such an obligation, and as far as the issues were concerned, the complaints were not from a small group of stakeholders. The sector is unhelpfully divided, and in the Minister's own words, the whole issue of the Plumbers, Gasfitters and Drain Layers Board has been quite shambolic for a long period of time. The Minister seemed to have criticised the Regulations Review Committee for its diligence and professionalism. So the point of clarification here is that the Regulations Review Committee is a very important part of Parliament's processes. Its decision then in relation to the Plumbers, Gasfitters and Drain Layers Board fees notice 2010 were made unanimously with the support of both the government and opposition members on that committee. The committee did give the board the opportunity to reply, and it did not consider the submissions in isolation. Also, it is appropriate for me to point out that there are actually two professional associations representing the vast majority of the sector. The Master Plumbers Association, the Minister referred to in his speech, is one. The Minister said in 2010 that it had 733 businesses as its members. There is another association called the Plumbers, Gasfitters and Drain Layers Federation, and using 2010 data, it showed it had 900 or so members. To be fair and scientifically truthful to the sector, the Minister cannot support one and ignore the other. The Federation alleges that the board members are made up largely of members of the Master Plumbers Association. If it is true, it may help explain why the Masters Association was opposed to the disallowance motion of Regulations Review Committee. It also helps to explain why the Minister has to resort to such a bill to bail out the board. Other allegations made so far include that, firstly, the reason why the Minister has to resort to introducing such a bill, which has a retrospective effect, is trying to stop the Federation from taking more legal action against the board. And secondly, both the board and the Minister knew the money had been taken from the industry illegally, and this will prevent the industry from ever claiming that money back. Therefore, this bill is nothing more than a cynical exercise by the Minister Maurice Williamson to cover his mistakes of the past. Thirdly, recent events have revealed that some of the information being supplied to the public by way of the board's electronic gas certificates is false, incomplete, and misleading. The Federation believes this affects thousands of gas certificates that were integrated into the current electronic gas certificate system. Now, Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious allegation. The complaint said they believed that the nature of the false and misleading information places at risk the public and treats people alike. I agree that the board has a colourful history. It has been the subject of a complaint to the Office of the Auditor General, Parliament's Regulations Review Committee, the Ombudsman's Office, Charities Commission, and the Inland Revenue Department. I wonder what the Minister may say now in light of his statement in 2011 that the board was poor in the past, okay at present, and looking to get the future quite tidy. By resorting to such a bill to validate unlawful acts does not strike me as something tidy. Mr. Speaker, Labour supports this bill with reservations until Select Committee. It is important that concerned parties have the opportunity to debate and air concerns with the bill at Select Committee stage. By supporting this bill to a Select Committee, Labour is not uncritically sanctioning the board's conduct in 2010, where it acted ultra-vires or beyond the scope of its levy power as defined in Section 143 of the Main Act. Rather, enabling the bill to reach Select Committee stage will give all concerned parties an opportunity to be heard on these issues. It must be emphasized that validating legislation needs to be approached with considerable caution, and this is such a bill. It makes actions that were previously thought lawful and have since been found unlawful actually lawful. Mr. Speaker, as Labour's spokesperson for building and construction, I wish to emphasise that we are supporting the board, the Master Association, and the Federation. The sector, namely the board and the members and all tradespeople involved, protect the health and safety of the public, and specifically for the board, it fulfills its statutory duty by regulating and ensuring the competency of the tradespeople carrying out sanitary plumbing, gas fitting, and drain laying work. While we're facing bigger issues such as leaky building saga, I urge the Minister to be cautious because we're talking about the quality of people's life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable